It's showtime, folks. Welcome in, Chasing Big Joe, 1025, 1063 The Game here on this Thursday. We're live today at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, Titans training camp, day number 2. D-Mace is out here, former Titan Brad Hopkins out here, seeing some formers as well in day number 2. He's Big Joe. I'm Chase McCabe. Dr. Crane Nick Frey back at the studio. What's up, JoJo?
Just looking at Derek Mason out here, kind of a rock star rose out here. Everybody slapping his hand, saying hi to him. He earned it, deserved it. Part of our team. Makes us look good. Makes us look a lot better, to be honest with you. So, yeah, here we go, day 2 of training camp. And we'll continue to play training camp bingo here with the Tennessee Titans. And, you know, the word like consistency and continuity and still got to get in shape. You know, the words you hear at every training camp. So
the buzzwords.
Yeah, we heard him yesterday. So we'll keep going with that. But it was good interview with Tony Pollard yesterday about him coming over. And, you know, I thought it was interesting about, you know, the Derrick Henry thing. You know, he's like, hey, I'm not here to replace Derrick Henry. I'm here just to win football games and help this team go forward. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, well, and I mean, look, that was the right answer for sure. I mean, it's the only answer you can give.
Right.
Is I'm here to be Tony Pollard, and that's exactly why they signed him. They want him to be Tony Pollard. They don't need him to be Derrick Henry. But we're live once again. They're getting things underway. They're stretching right now and just let the general media in.
Yeah, the peasants.
It's so funny. It's like opening the gate and you just see them.
There they come.
Just cattle coming in.
It's reminiscent of a scene from The Walking Dead. When they just come.
Hey, you were a part of that for a long time.
I'm still a part of that. So.
You are. But, you know, we got early access because we got to set up here and do the show and all of that. 10 o'clock today. This is going to be a lot of fun. You know, we like to do things a little different here on the Chasing Big Joe show.
Yeah.
And there's a reason we're having this person on. But I'm excited. You're excited. Lieutenant Dan. Gary Sinise will join us at 10 o'clock today.
Yeah, so it's 30 years since Forrest Gump, and this weekend the Opry is honoring 30 years of Forrest Gump. They're going to play a lot of songs. The soundtrack is fantastic for that movie. So Gary Sinise is being honored over there at the
and he's got a band, the Lieutenant Dan Band.
Yeah, they're playing Saturday, so big weekend for him. And so, I mean, his foundation, how he's not won a Nobel Peace Prize or any of the big honors, he's very, very, very unselfish in his dedication to veterans and to servicemen and women of this country and what he does. I think he's built 90 adaptive homes for service members that have been wounded in combat, and he lives here in Franklin, and he's just a good man, and that foundation does some amazing work. And I've never met him. I don't know if you have.
I haven't either.
And so we're looking forward to that too. And he's very, very humble and he's very gracious. So we'll look forward to him at 10 o'clock today. So that's our question of the day.
Okay.
Our question of the day is, and we're at Titans training camp. We'll talk a lot of sports today. That's fine. Our question today is, how many times do you think you have seen Forrest Gump? And if you've never seen it, why? I'm curious on both ends. How many times do you think you have seen Forrest Gump? And if you've never seen it, why? I in 30 years, I bet you I've seen that movie 250 times. And that's not a joke.
So you remember back in the day, was it PG? Was it rated R or PG-13?
I'm thinking PG-13.
Back in the day, like if you were with your parents, they didn't really check too much, you know, with movies. I saw it in the theater way before I probably should have, but it had so much. I mean, look, culturally, it was Tom Hanks and the cultural significance of it, and you know, the history and everything. So that was 94. I mean, I've seen that movie at least 10 times in my life. I mean, it's one of those that if it's on TV and I'm scrolling through, like I'll watch it.
Yeah, I mean, of course you were what, 8 when it came out?
Yeah.
So to you, you know, I was 26 when it came out, I think, and so
that's why I was 7 when it came out.
7 when it came out. So that's why I've seen it so many times. But so that's our question: 615-737-1025. In honor of Gary Sinise joining us at 10 o'clock today on the People's Show, the Chasing Big Joe Show.
So looking forward to that. And our question of the day: how many times have you watched or seen Forrest Gump?
Yeah,
we will do that.
If you haven't seen it, I'm curious.
I want to know why. Yeah, I mean, like I was joking with Connor and David from our staff that are here today. I was like, you two have seen Forrest Gump, right? Because if not, I'm going to need you to go home and watch it right now.
Right.
That should be required viewing. Like, I remember when I first met Ryan Porth, he had never seen A Few Good Men. I'm like, huh?
Yeah, that's
like how have you never seen that movie? It's a fantastic movie.
Well, and I love the argument too. Young people are like, well, I never saw that. Hey, I never saw the Beatles,
right?
But I know who they are, and I went and you can find them on YouTube and all that stuff there. But anyway, we'll have a lot of fun with that today. I want to start off with you with the Jeffrey Simmons thing yesterday, because we love drama, right? We love drama. We're not involved in it.
We're a fan of drama.
So the drama yesterday with Jeffrey Simmons and our boy Stillman, I guess Simmons completely ignored him. Did he even answer the question yesterday?
No, he ignored it. Yeah, he completely ignored it. I think we have that audio. So basically what this was Stillman was trying to ask about Jeffrey Simmons had posted on Twitter a couple weeks ago, mad at somebody in the Titans media, and whether it was Jared or Paul or somebody, and Jared tried to ask about it. Do we have that, Dr. Crane?
Yes, sir, we do.
All right, this was the exchange.
Speaking of Twitter, you a couple weeks ago had some criticism for us.
I'm not speaking on that. I'm moving on.
There you go. He's moving on.
Oh man.
So here's my thing. Like,
a much ado about nothing. I love it.
And Jared took it a step further yesterday, because like before that, Jeffrey was asked about being a leader on the team and all that, and he said, like, this is my team. Like I've ascended into that role. It's a role that I want, and all of that. And so Jared kind of took it a step further, like, well, you're going to say that, but then you're going to post the stuff on Twitter, and then when you get asked about it, you don't want to talk about it.
Right.
And Jared called him a phony. Now, I think that.
What, during the press conference?
No, like on the air.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I kind of look at it as, at the end of the day, Twitter doesn't matter. I think Jeffrey Simmons is a leader. I think Jeffrey Simmons is a really good player. I think he knows he needs to take a step forward this year and have an even better, have a better year. It's not about, people focus on the sack numbers, and that's not necessarily all it is for me with him, because he's going to create opportunities and be double teamed and allow the quarterback to, another player to get to the quarterback. So I think it's more than just, there's underlying numbers that you got to look at with Jeffrey Simmons. But I do agree that it's like, if you're going to tweet something.
And what was the tweet again? It was basically
like, they all act like our friend, and then, they hate us and stuff like that. It's like, if you're going to tweet something like that, you should be prepared to answer.
Absolutely.
Whatever
answer you want to give is fine, but be prepared to answer.
And like, there was something, where that he allegedly spit on somebody, and he was asked about that, and he was like, I'm not speaking on it. Like, he always wants to do, I'm not going to speak on that. And it's like, okay, well, dude, you're being accused of something. We're giving you an opportunity to
good point,
clear your name. And so it's like, this kind of goes back to AJ Brown. My suggestion is just go ahead and stay off Twitter.
Yeah, especially during the season. Go ahead,
pick what you're going to do. Are you going to? Because like, we all know this, when guys are like, we don't listen to the noise. You hear it though. You don't have to listen to it, but you hear it.
Right.
And so, if you're gonna engage and you're not gonna like something, then you need to be prepared to talk about it.
Yeah, and then this Twitter thing, social media has only hit the guy, this generation since 08, 09, and 10 right there. This was not something part of the 80s and 90s. You could say something and you'd be asked about it, but it would not be out there for in perpetuity like your tweet is, or some kind of Instagram post. So be prepared for that. And I get that. You're going to ask questions, and good, he didn't answer it. That's fine. But, I'm not going to give a lot of praise to Jared Stillman, but good for him for asking that question and then moving on with it. So, yeah, that's all settled. I know I was not going to do this, but I read that Mason Rudolph was like perfect yesterday. I'm sorry, I didn't want to bring the 8 for 8 or whatever, but I heard he was pinpoint with his passes. Don't hate me.
So
don't hate me.
On day one of Titans training camp, I need Dr. Crane. I need a drop here from our friend Stephen A. Because this is how I feel.
Right.
This is how I feel about Mason Rudolph or or Will Levis or anyone's performance on day one of Titans training camp?
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you,
We don't care.
It's the first day.
I deserve that. But, you know, if he would have been like 1 for 12 with 3 interceptions, we'd talk about it. We would talk about it. So you tell me we wouldn't talk about that?
I would give you the same answer. I would be
And
like,
that is
it's
what?
the first day. I don't care.
Hit it, Dr. Crane.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
let me tell you,
We don't care.
It's the first day, man. It's the first day.
I love that.
Like they're not even wearing pads. They're out here in shorts and
Right.
basically a t-shirt.
Oh, man.
But I mean, like it just
oh, God.
next week when the pads are on and they're doing 7-on-7 or 11-on-11, and he goes,
Okay.
you know, if he goes 3 for 10 with 3 picks, then okay.
Yeah, I'll
All right.
accent the positive
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that.
yeah.
though.
We'll-
What's
we'll-
up, Ryan?
we'll talk.
See you, buddy.
You know, we'll talk then. But on day one of Titans training camp, when they're just out there trying to learn the playbook,
Okay.
I'm not really that concerned.
So, you know, it's weird not seeing Derrick Henry out here. You know what else is weird not seeing out here? And because I paid so much attention to him because he went to MTSU, Kevin Byard.
Yeah, no, that one. Well, I looked over yesterday and, you know, we said it and saw number 31. And I was like, man, like that.
There's 2 31s out here.
That's, oh, yeah, there's 31 on offense and defense. Keaton Ellis is a safety. Jabari Small from Tennessee, running back, wearing 31 as well on offense.
And you can see there's no 22 out here. It's
No, and there shouldn't be. But and there's not going to be. But yeah, so it look, it's a change. I mean, it's a transition. You know, that era is over. The Vrabel era, Robinson era is over. You know, I remember it from a different perspective because I was just a fan at that point. You know, I wasn't in media yet, but like the day that, you know, the McNair, Eddie, that era ended was really when Floyd had to lock McNair out. And
Yeah.
you knew it was done, but Eddie had already been traded, but it was like the good old days are gone. D Mace was gone. Kevin Carter, Samari Roll, like that team was done.
Yeah, that was after the 04 season.
And
Yep.
so like that was the first time that we had to experience what that was like. And so now, you know, and it took them a while to kind of get to the next era. Well, now the Tannehill, Henry, Vrabel, Robinson era is over.
Yeah.
And a new one begins. Now, how quickly will that new one truly take off? Time will tell.
Yep, like the old from the movie Godfather, man. It's not personal; it's business. Guys just come in, and come go, and get out of here, and leave, and other guys replace them. You know, Derek and Mason and I were talking last week about players in the league and how somebody got, I forget what team it was, somebody got brought in. And I was like, you know, Derek, what was it like going to work every day knowing that they're always trying to replace you?
Yeah.
He's like, you know what? Yeah, he goes, and sometimes you have to push that out of your mind during camp because you get worried. Man, if I hurt my calf here, if I hurt my foot here, or if I slip and fall and have an ACL, it's not going to be good. You got to push that all out and go out and play. I mean, they love you. The team loves you, but the same fact, they're always trying to replace you. It's nowhere more evident than in the National Football League.
615-737-1025. That's our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Practice underway here at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Day number 2 of Titans training camp as we're live today, and we'll discuss more of that. Also have a player join us after practice, Gary Sinise at 10 o'clock here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
As a team, as an offense, what do you guys need to accomplish in that game to feel good about yourself?
I think develop consistency and being able to go out there and not just put one good period together, but we know that it's going to be competitive and that the defense will have their periods. But in terms of just operation and procedure, getting in and out of the huddle and getting people lined up correctly, and just the different mechanisms of the plays running on a consistent basis is going to be the biggest thing for us. We had our spurts of that throughout the spring, and it was our first time, obviously, going through the offense. So Callie made a point yesterday, just with how fast he ripped through all the installs. It's expected that we know this stuff, so we can kind of breeze through it faster and put in a lot more stuff on a daily basis. And guys are expected to go out there on their stuff and know this. So it was good to see today that I felt really good about, how we operated. Obviously, it's the base stuff. It's only going to get more complicated from here. So we just look forward to continuing to improve there.
Yesterday, after practice number 1, little Doobie Brothers bringing us back from the Forrest Gump soundtrack, right, in honor of Gary Sinise, 10 o'clock. So I went over after we were done with the show. I walked over to the, where the media was, and I listened to some of Will Levis. And I got to tell you, and again, it's day 1 of training camp, and I'm not going to put too much or whatever into that, but I have been impressed by him because you've seen players or quarterbacks specifically over the years that they'll sit there and they'll say all the right things but then do the complete opposite. To me, he seems very genuine in how grateful he is for the opportunity. Jim Wyatt in the house, how grateful he is for the opportunity. How much he feels like he knows he needs to step up and live up to this role and being the starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. I'm impressed with him, from that standpoint. Whether it all works out or not, we'll see. But he at least fits the part to me. That you can tell he's a good dude. You can tell he's a genuine dude. I know Jared was talking about this yesterday, that some people were concerned, when he was going through the draft process, that it's a little more just look at me. He doesn't seem like that at all.
No, I agree. That's a good point. With that being said, now go back to the quarterbacks the Titans have had. They've got it. We knew McNair was a leader. I mean, he proved himself. So there was all that aura about Steve. When he talked, you listened because he earned that right. So then you go after that. You got Kerry Collins, and Vince. There was never that really this is my team. Locker certainly didn't have that.
No,
I think Locker was blinded by the headlights the whole time, and he was still fighting with Matt Hasselbeck for a starting job, and it really unfair to Locker. And the lockout came in 2011. So then you kind of fast forward to Mariota in 2015. Nice guy, absolutely not a leader. And he was even questioned about that by some teammates. There's some leadership thing there that maybe he should do this more, do that more. Tannehill kind of embraced that role a little bit once he got comp, which was fantastic. I love the moxie that Will Levis is showing. We're gonna ride or die with my teammates, and we're gonna go this together. Follow me, and we're gonna get it done. And I like it. Do you want a quarterback who does that, or do you want to says, we're trying to get a little bit better today? I'm not sure what's going on. No, I like the moxie that Will Levis has. Again, I think he's going to be fine. I know there's a small sample size, but look, he played behind one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen in the NFL. Certainly the worst offensive line that they've been here since maybe 2004, 2012. So to do all that, he went through the fire. Now he's got to grow this year.
Yeah.
I think the window chasing out for a quarterback, 2 years.
Agreed.
It used to be 3. Now it's 2. If he doesn't get it done this year, he's gone. We talk a lot about Aikman in 89 was terrible. Manning in 98, awful. The next year, a 180. They became great quarterbacks. Hopefully you see that from Will Levis.
Well, and speaking of the offensive line, Titans first-round pick J.C. Latham will join us after practice today. So looking forward to talking to him.
All right now.
Yep. So he'll be our guest today.
Have you seen his thighs? He's
huge.
He's like Hans and Franz. He's got the huge thighs. I mean, they're huge. And again, he's my guy. I'm going to tell him. He's my guy that I hope he makes all pro this year.
Yeah. So he'll join us after practice today. Looking forward to that. But no, and look, to your point, quarterbacks have 2 years because coaches have 2 years. Coaches and GMs don't have very long to get it right.
Right. No, not anymore.
And you look at this situation now, Brian Callahan could go, well, that wasn't my guy. So he gets a little bit of a pass there, but it was Rand Carthon's guy.
It was.
So, the the clock starts ticking there. We speculated last year, was Levis' success connected to Vrabel's success? Ultimately, the answer to that, I guess, was no, because there was, half a season.
Yeah.
But, Amy Adams-Strunk used that as reason. Like, we have our quarterback, and we didn't feel like that philosophies matched up, yada, yada, yada. I think a little speech in New England probably played a role in that. But,
Yep.
yeah, so, but that's the thing. Like, Brian Callahan has to go into this knowing, okay, I got to make it work with Will Levis. And Will Levis goes into this knowing, I got to make it work with Brian Callahan. I think it can. I think this offense fits him because it's a similar offense to what he ran that, 1 year at Kentucky that he had such a good year.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, college to the NFL is different, but that's the hope. But how he carries himself so far, I've been very impressed with.
Well,
and I wonder, too, if that year or at least half a year backing up Ryan Tannehill, because you mentioned the leadership qualities of Tannehill, how beneficial that was to him.
And not only that, but remember the first part of last year, all through camp, first part of the season, 2023, Will Levis took second team snaps. He did not take starter reps.
He took third team snaps at times.
Okay, exactly. Yeah. Even worse. So now he's taking first team. He's had a whole offseason to get it done. And I think Callahan's talked about, it was Callahan. I don't think he was forced to talk about Will Levis being his guy during the summer, that interview that he had. I don't think because I think Callahan's a guy who'd been like, I don't talk about something else. But I think that he feels like he could guide this team, lead this team. Because look, you've heard great offensive coordinators say that quarterback is a reflection of how I wanted to play the game. And I think Callahan likes Will Levis. That's him out there, how he can run the game and run this football team. And we'll see. It's like you said, we laugh about the practice and preseason and the preseason games and this and that. But game one, you've got to come out of the gates firing against the Bears up there and see what you can happen. He's got the weapons. He's got a rebuild offensive line mostly, and he's got really good leadership quality in this football team. So I think it's an exciting time to watch this for the Titans.
So I try not to. You mentioned that first game, and I've tried not to put too much into one game.
Do it,
but I think I am. We'll discuss that and much more coming up next. You can weigh in too, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. That is our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We're live today, Titans training camp at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. All right, it's a little cloudy today, but it's a good day to get your roof checked out from 5 Points Roofing. We've got off and on rain. Maybe you've noticed some leaks in your house. Means you need to get your roof checked out. 5pointsroofing.com. That's where you need to go. They'll come out there. They'll look at it for free, and then they'll tell you what you need to do, what repairs you need. If you had storm damage and that's what caused it, well, they'll help you through the insurance claim as well. But 5pointsroofing.com is where you need to go to get things started. Spell it out, F-I-V-E, pointsroofing.com. You can get an appointment set up. They'll come out to your house. They'll make the process so easy for you. So start off today, 5pointsroofing.com. Casey Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game here on this Thursday, Titans training camp. The Forrest Gump soundtrack. Gary Sinise joining us at 10 o'clock. This was, they're in Nam on the helicopters, right? Such a cool scene.
Oh, it's a great scene.
With that guitar and John Fogerty. Again, you mentioned the soundtrack. The soundtrack's fantastic.
It is. Our question of the day, a fun question of the day is, how many times have you seen Forrest Gump? And if you've never seen it, I'm curious as why you have not seen Forrest Gump and you've had 30 years to do so. But it's not an indictment on you. Some don't like it. I understand. I just want to know
How
why.
could you not like it? That's the thing.
I don't know. I read the book. The book was odd.
I've never read
but
the book.
funny, and how they were able to turn that into an amazing movie. Well, I mean, it's easy because of all the great dialogue and the cast of characters with Tom Hanks and Robin Wright.
So think about this. Think about if they had done that movie today with the technology we have, because they used all the old film clips and early days of CGI to have the interaction of like Richard Nixon and different presidents and stuff.
If you don't know, it's like he's shaking Kennedy's hand.
Yeah,
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, and they had Elvis. Elvis was in it early in the movies, like teaching him how to dance and stuff like that. But talking about the Titans here at training camp, and you've brought up how important that first game is against the Bears, and I've thought about this more and more, that I really do believe that it's not going to shape the whole season necessarily, but I think if they can somehow go to Chicago and win that game and start the year off 1-0, how much of a difference that can make for this Titans team, because you're getting Caleb Williams at the right time in his first game, all the pressure that goes into that, being the number 1 overall pick. You're playing at Soldier Field, historic franchise in the Bears. There's a fan base that's just starving for a good football team. And so there's going to be all that hype there, and you can go in and play spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, you want to get Caleb
there
Williams.
should be no pressure on the Titans.
I completely agree. You want to play, Caleb Williams week 1 as opposed to week 12.
Yeah,
you're on the road. We talked the other day about the Bears being home. They're going to be so hyped and so just excited that I think even more pressure because they are at home. Look, Titans go up there, play your game, bring all kind of pressure against Caleb Williams. Execute your game plan, get out of there with a win, and come home, sit at 1-0. You come back here 1-0. You got Aaron Rodgers coming here in week 2 off the short week.
Yeah,
the city will lose its mind because they are, and this is all of us, whether you're Titans fan or not, for the city, are desperately wanting a championship team here. And if you start out, and winning is a big part of it, obviously. You start out 1-0, you come home, Aaron Rodgers is here. Their second game on the road, short week for them because they play Monday Night Football. I mean, it sets up perfectly.
And I have no idea what they are. I mean, like on paper, the Jets should be with Rodgers, but even the team around Rodgers, they should be better than they were last year. But with everything with Rodgers, you just never know.
Yeah, and I was reading yesterday how teammates are not publicly saying this, but don't like him.
Yeah,
don't like him. So I mean, it sets up great for the team. But all the focus should be on the Bears right now. Everything you do is getting ready for everything you do. It should be getting ready for the Bears right now.
100%. So we're kind of looking across here. What is this? The defensive line that we're watching?
I can't tell.
Yeah, they got everything on the far field. So, we're sitting here.
Interior guys are now jogging across the field over there.
How's Sweat look today? He was huffing and puffing a little bit yesterday.
Well, who
it's first day. I get it. He's a big boy.
Be huffing and puffing.
Be like, you remember Jim Washburn liked it when they threw up.
Loved it.
Like he tried to make him throw up.
I tell the story. Jim Washburn's the only coach I've ever seen make a professional football player cry under that goalpost that I'm pointing at by the Titans bubble over there.
Yep.
Former Tennessee player, may he rest in peace, Jesse Mahalona, and Washburn. I almost started crying, and I wasn't even involved in it. It was, and Jim talked about it. He's like, that guy had talent. He just had to realize he had talent.
Yeah.
And it was my job to bring that talent out somehow, some way. And Jesse had a few good moments. He didn't really live up to the talent with Jim Washburn thought he had, but it was, look, if your feelings getting hurt because a coach is yelling at you, you're in the wrong sport, man.
Yeah,
get out of here.
100%. It's a tough sport. But as we've talked about with Jeff Fisher from time to time, that it's changed so much. I mean, the mindset of players has just changed, and how you coach them has changed. But
now what the lockout was after the 2010 season. So
yeah,
it's 11-24. So that's now 14 seasons that the lockout has been in place. I mean, the new collective bargaining agreement's been in place, and I miss the days of David Stewart, the right tackle. He'd fight your mom.
Yeah.
I mean, those were fun practices out here to watch that. I mean, these guys were just going at each other.
What was crazy about those days is you had Michael Roos on one side, David Stewart, Big Country on the other side, and they were both kind of quiet. Like Rooster, especially, they called him Rooster, but he was especially kind of quiet. But like you said, they'd rip your head off.
Yeah. I mean, think of that offensive line during that time. You had those two guys bookends. You had Kevin Malloy at center.
Yeah.
You had Eugene Amano at a guard. You had Jake Scott at a guard.
Yep.
And so that was a good offensive line. They didn't run their mouth. They performed. They played the game. They were great. You had Leroy Harris. Thank you. Who got drafted, who came in and was serviceable. So, I mean, you had, and look, that team was good because that offensive line was good. Of course, having Chris Johnson, and, they had no receivers on that team in 07 and 08 and still got the job done, and a great defense too as well. So this team the same? Not at all, but it's got potential to be. It really does.
Yeah, it does for sure. They added a piece that I'm curious about, and I didn't really make a big deal about it because I'm like, man, he's hurt all the time. What's he really going to do? But then I heard Jamal Adams speak yesterday, and it's like, again, here's somebody that's been humbled. The league will humble you.
Yeah.
And this is somebody that's been humbled, and he talked about his injuries and that there were points he was in a wheelchair, he couldn't walk, and everything he's battled back. How much can he help the Titans? He was asked if he's the same player that he was 2 years ago. Here's what he had to say.
Same player now that you were before all that?
I think so. I think it's just a process of getting back. It's a process of learning myself, of knowing my body, knowing my assignments, coming out here and flying around the ball, timing up different blitzes and things like that in that nature. I'm just excited for, the opportunity to get back. We'll see.
I got to see a lot for me to say, hey, that's the Jamal Adams that I remember. That's the Jamal Adams that, before all the injuries, kind of slowed him down. That's the Jamal Adams I remember from LSU. Like a lot has to happen for that. But if you get, something out of him, like even as a role player, like not necessarily a starter, but if you get that, I mean, it's a low risk, high reward signing.
I love it. I mean, and if he could turn into something more than that, fantastic. Good for him. And
sure. Like, I'm not expecting him to come out here and be an all-pro and be, truly replace Kevin Byard.
Right. But maybe there's a guy who can emerge in this camp under Denard Wilson, the defensive coordinator's leadership and tutelage, who could stand out that maybe we didn't think about before. I mean, that's the point of this camp, and that's why we talked yesterday why this camp is a little bit more interesting than the ones before, because there's so many open positions and so many questions that still need to be answered. That's what camp is for.
It's Kuz. There's no questions with Kuz.
It's a handsome man right there.
A legend.
Absolute
legend in this town.
Seen it all. He's part of the Paul Koharski, Hope Hines kerfuffle in the locker room, standing next to me.
Kerfuffle.
Right there with me during that time.
So practice is underway here at St. Thomas Sports Park, as they're scattered all over the three fields. If you've never been out here before, basically they have the bubble that everybody talks about, but they have three outdoor fields, and so you got different position groups that are working on different fields.
Where'd the stands go?
They haven't had them yeah, they did.
Are they going to bring them out here maybe in a week or so?
I don't think so. I don't think they've had them the last couple of years, actually, because of all the construction and everything. They just have people stand, they'll rope it off.
Okay.
So
maybe an open practice over at they can't do anything at Nissan. You can't, because Kenny Chesney's there next weekend.
Well, they're doing something Saturday.
Okay. Then that must be the last part in the concert.
So I think they're doing it. Kenny Chesney's next weekend?
Next weekend.
It's crazy.
Yeah. We got third row.
Oh wow!
So yeah,
You were able to,
yep. I have us, me, you, and Ricky, and
Dr. Crane.
Dr. Crane.
Yep.
I have an appointment at 2:00 at Boot Barn. That's
Okay.
Saturday downtown to get brush popper shirts
Nice.
and kind of like all dress the same,
Okay.
so we don't lose each other.
Is Coach bringing the limo?
He could.
Yeah.
So we're good.
We should talk to him
Yeah.
about that before he has to go to practice and everything.
Be fantastic.
Be
I
good.
assume white cowboy hats are the attire.
I'm going to be kind of the bad guy, wear the black cowboy hat.
Yeah.
You know,
But you do, yeah, you do you.
one guy. You got to have one bad boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Dr. Crane, you already got your cowboy hat, right?
Yeah, you're
I
ready
do.
to go.
It's a suede cowboy hat. It's kind of nice.
What'd you pay? Did you get it off Amazon?
Yeah, I paid like $15. It was not bad. Nice quality.
That's even better, man. That's
That-
even better. Good.
That is a good one. We'll have more shenanigans out here at Titans practice in just a few. 615-737-1025. That's our phone and text line. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Tune into 94.9 The Fan today as the Sounds take on Charlotte. Pregame at 6:20 with Jeff Him. First pitch at 6:35, also with Jeff Him. Coverage also available on 94.9 The Fan app, 94.9thefan.com. Sounds Baseball is presented by Twin Peaks, Family Leisure, 5 Points Roofing, Cottle Vet Clinic, and Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
You know the day destroys the night. Night divides
Game
the
Summer
day.
Ticket Tour presented by Green River Whiskey is back. You can join this man right here, Big Joe at MJ Sports Bar and Grill, 1253 Northwest Broad Street in Murfreesboro. Today, he'll be out there from 4 to 6, and he'll give away tickets to upcoming concerts in Nashville, including Bush, Train, Dierks Bentley, and more. You can also get signed up for the grand prize, tickets to a Preds home game, Sounds game, and the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. For more details, just head to thegamenashville.com/tour. Green River Distilling Company, Owensboro, Kentucky. Alcohol volume varies by product. Please drink responsibly. Back today at Titans Training Camp, chasing Big Joe, Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Titans are underway, and right in front of us, we get to watch the kickers and punters.
Callahan knows how to torture me. Only thing good about this, I get to watch the long snapper, which is, I'm
near and dear to your heart.
They are, yeah. It's a vital position. So to see that, and meanwhile, what was that?
The mic was open.
Oh, the other mic was open. We're under attack.
I thought one of y'all fell out of your chair or something.
It was just a piece of paper flying over the mic. Wow. I ducked under the desk here for that. No, all the oh man, all the actions on the other side of the football field over there.
Yeah.
Shocker. They're hard, but they didn't do this even when Fish was here. They didn't do on this side of the field. It's always all on the other far side of the field over there.
But Fisher would let you, at least watch. Fisher would be like, "Hey, don't film this.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on a trick play."
Yeah, turn your camera on. So we knew what to do and all that. And now it's like you got 8 minutes to, but fans.
But every coach is like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're all that way.
Yeah, and not poor, pitiful media. I understand that, but you just don't get a lot of video of guys here and there. That's why you rip them off the website of Titans.com, because you get plenty of stuff that goes on there. So
100%. Jeffrey Simmons talked about T'Vondre Sweat yesterday. We saw T'Vondre Sweat out here working out. Obviously, big boy. Let's see. What's he officially listed at on our roster here?
6'4", 366.
Yeah, and I think he's every bit of that, if not more. And look, it was, it wasn't too hot, but he was huffing and puffing a little bit, which, again, you said you kind of like seeing that.
Yeah,
he's a rookie, but I expect big things from him. I really do. And like when I saw him walk by, I said, "Holy cow, that's a big boy."
It is. And let's get this conditioning thing out of the way. We've talked to John McClain about the great story about Earl Campbell. Earl Campbell couldn't run a mile, and after practice, the media was like, "Hey, Bum Phillips, Earl had problem on getting his mile run in." And Bum Phillips said, "Well, when it's third and a mile, I'm not going to give him the football." Such a great quote. So you're not asking, T'Vondre Sweat to be out there every single play, going both ways, running sprints. His goal, he needs to be as good in the fourth quarter as he is in the first. That's the bottom line.
And I'm sure that's what the coaches are coaching him on, of like, "Hey, let's work up to this. Let's, make sure you're good when we really need you the most." And that's what you hope for. So, if we were talking about the game against the Bears, if you don't see a lot of him early in the game, maybe that's by design.
No, I thought to Trevor Maddich about this when I filled in for Jared a few weeks ago about how Jimmy Johnson with the Hurricanes, when he coached there in the mid-'80s, they had a 2-tier system. So you would see 4 guys on the first kind of number ones go in. Then the next series, you'd see 4 different guys on the defensive line go in. And it alternated that way. These guys stayed. And he carried that same kind of attitude to the Cowboys when he did it there. I mean, remember Tony Casillas would come in one series, do great. And it was like, why is he not in there? Oh, he's resting and going on and on and on. So, yeah, by design, just when you're in there, make sure everybody knows you're in the game. I mean, disrupt as much as you can in the middle. And if Simmons and Sweat against that Bears team Chase are firing at all cylinders in that first quarter where the Bears can't do anything, and you're going to force Caleb Williams to throw the entire time, then you're going to win that ball game. You're going to win the game because you take that running game out. When the running game we've talked about is a quarterback's best friend. When that's gone, it's you versus all 11 now.
So when you look at the team and how everybody they brought in, now we know how this works. There's going to probably be some guys that get brought in off the street and join at some point during training camp. But how many? Like, do you think that whatever the first depth chart ends up being with especially the defense, that ends up being what they roll out there on week 1, or do you still think there's a couple of additions to be made?
Man, yeah. I mean, if there's 1 or 2 players out there that you think can further your program and push this team to get the wins and help out, good. Just don't go out and get guys because you think anything else. They've got to be coming here and know what's going on. And then, it takes a while to adapt to get to things. Well, Kerry Collins came in 2006. He came in, I think
it was late,
like a week out before the season started in 2006. And because that was the whole with Billy Volek and Fisher and that drama that went on. So I think, I mean, there's going to be, once you have the cuts, right? Final Cuts Labor Day weekend, there's always a couple of guys out there you kick the can on or kick the tires on, whatever you call it, and then you'll bring them in here. But nobody that I could remember, Chase, that came in that late really had a massive impact on the team. Is there one? There might be one, but nobody.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, I guess that was early in training camp. Who's the guy you don't like?
Vaccaro.
Yeah, Kenny Vaccaro.
Came in here, ran his mouth, and then got Lamar Jackson ran past him. He's like, I'm not going to talk any more questions. Blah, blah, blah. And like, shut up.
Well, I know Jamal Adams was asked yesterday, Nick, I think we have this on Quandre Diggs, his former teammate in Seattle, and he basically said he's recruiting him. And look, they still need safety help, and that Diggs' name has been mentioned potentially coming to the team. Do we have that, Nick?
Yes, one moment.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I put you on the spot there. You're doing great. We're all proud of you. We're all counting on you. But yeah, Jamal, I mean, he was flat out asked about Quandre Diggs. This was the answer.
Stay in touch with Quandre Diggs much?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, we talk every day, man. Every day. Obviously, I'm the type, and he knows me. We've known each other for so long, since we were kids, and I'm not gonna, push him to come here. Obviously, I would love for him to be here, but he has to figure out his process, on his own, and he will eventually. I know there's so many teams looking at him, and hopefully we get him.
I would love. I mean, look, I'd take Quandre Diggs to help. I mean, at this point, you take any help you can get at that safety spot. Play with Seattle, Detroit before that. He's 31 years old.
So why is he not in camp now?
The safety market was an interesting one. I mean, you got Justin Simmons, you got Diggs. I mean, there's a few others. Jamal Adams, it took a while. We're still out there. I think they were asking for too much.
Right.
And so now there's some guys that are just still out there waiting. But I mean, I think by the time the season starts, they'll be signed somewhere.
Then they got to come in. Then they got to get rid of the defense and on and on. That's why I really hope somebody emerges on this training camp for the Titans at that safety position and not to worry about it. I really hope. And look,
I would still add Diggs. I would take.
You're not
Diggs.
Denard Wilson, so you won't do anything. Denard Wilson can do what he wants.
I'll walk over there right now and say, "Hey, go sign Quandre Diggs."
I think they know. To me, I think they might have a little diamond in the rough over there, and they'll.
Name names. Who's your diamond in the rough?
Kyle Eaton, is that his name? It's got number 31.
Okay.
Keaton Ellis.
Keaton
Ellis. That's the guy.
Okay.
Better than Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan. I don't want to forget. What about the 14 running back? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. During camp, we talked about it.
I'm surprised you didn't say this. What about Matt Jackson?
I don't think he's a safety. He's never played safety before. He was a linebacker.
Then why is he listed as a safety?
That's a great question. Maybe he's not big enough to play inside linebacker. I don't know. That's a great question. But obviously he did something last year good that they put him on the team as an undrafted free agent. I would love to see Matt Jackson, Hillsboro High guy, local guy, get on the field. I would love to see that. Maybe he does. I just don't think he's safety material because I don't think he's ever played the position before.
Coming up next, a really cool interview. Gary Sinise, better known as Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump. The Gary Sinise Foundation in town this weekend is they'll be raising money for a good cause. We'll tell you more about that and what he's doing coming up next. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We're live today at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, Titans training camp. As practice is currently underway, J.C. Latham will join us when practice is over. But coming up this weekend, really looking forward to this at the Grand Ole Opry House. It'll be Sunday night, 7 o'clock. The Opry celebrates 30 years of Forrest Gump, the fantastic film featuring Gary Sinise and the Lieutenant Dan Band, plus many, many others. Then the fine actor Gary Sinise, who played Lieutenant Dan in the movie, is on the line with us now. Gary, good morning. Thanks so much for doing this. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's hard to believe it's been 30 years since Forrest Gump came out in theaters. So how special is it to continue that legacy? I know you do so much with your foundation that's based here, but how special has it been to keep this legacy going 30 years later?
Well, it's it's hard, a little bit hard to believe it's 30 years, but the movie seems to be in the consciousness of the American public ever since it came out 30 years ago. It's always on television, and new generations are seeing it all the time. And the Opry wanted to do something special, and we've been talking about getting my band over there. So this just kind of worked out really well, where we could have a wonderful group of artists coming in, and everybody's going to do a song from the Forrest Gump soundtrack. If you remember that soundtrack, it just had a ton of great music in it. And all the artists on the bill on Sunday night are going to do songs from the soundtrack and, their original tunes. My band's a cover band, so we're used to playing covers, and we'll do something from Forrest Gump and have some fun that night. And they're also very generously raising money for the Gary Sinise Foundation, which is something that I've been very, very active with for quite a number of years.
So tell us a little bit more about your foundation and what all you do.
Well, the foundation is set up to serve and honor the needs of our veterans, our active duty service members, the families of our fallen heroes, our wounded first responders. We take care of families of first responders, fallen first responders, children. We do a lot of different things at the Gary Sinise Foundation. The foundation's in its 14th year now. I've been kind of very active with military and veteran support for a number of years, going back pre-Forrest Gump and all of that. And the foundation kind of grew out of a lot of the work that I was doing, supporting a lot of different other nonprofits that were in the military support space. And I started playing all over with my band and taking them to military bases. In fact, tomorrow night we're at Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri, and then on Saturday night we're at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and then we come over and we do the show at the Opry on Sunday night. So we're very busy.
The great Gary Sinise joins the Chasing Big Joe show here today on 102.5 The Game. Gary, when did you realize that this foundation, that you were meant to kind of do this? Was there a certain moment? Was there a certain veteran you talked to? What was the genesis that you realized, I'm doing the right thing now?
I think there's a number of things that happened over the years. I have a lot of veterans in my family, so it kind of starts there with me. My dad was in the Navy, and his two brothers were in World War II, and their father, my grandfather, served in the Army in World War I. And on my wife's side of the family, a lot of veterans, Vietnam veterans. And then I got very involved with supporting Vietnam veterans back in the 80s. Then I played Lieutenant Dan in the 90s, and he was a wounded veteran. And that started me working with our wounded through the Disabled American Veterans Organization. That relationship goes back 30 years. And then I felt after September 11th, I was kind of teed up to support the men and women who were deploying to Afghanistan and Iraq. And so I started visiting them with the USO and performing with my band and supporting a lot of other military charities. And then it just became clear after a number of years of doing that my next step was to create my own nonprofit. It was clear that I was just going to stay very active with this, and I wanted to be able to raise additional money so we could expand programs and I could employ people to help me do it. And now the foundation's in its 14th year. We've raised, over $400 million in the last several years, and we've deployed those resources all over, doing all kinds of great things. You can learn a lot more about it if you go to the Gary Sinise Foundation website, GarySiniseFoundation.org, and you'll find out a lot of good things that we're doing for a lot of great people who deserve it.
I read somewhere 92 adaptive homes you guys have put together and built. Is that correct?
These are smart technology, mortgage-free, adaptive homes for very badly wounded service members. So I started doing it before I had my foundation. I was raising money to build homes. The first one I was involved in goes back to 2010, where I donated my band to raise money for the first surviving quadruple amputee. He was blown up in Iraq and lost both his arms and both his legs. And then we ended up having 4 more quadruple amputees. So I ended up raising money to build homes for all of them. And then when I started my foundation, we just created a program. The program's called RISE, Restoring Independence, Supporting Empowerment. And we want to, when somebody gets blown up, they lose their arms, they lose their legs, they have a traumatic brain injury, they're burns, they're blinded, whatever it is, they lose their independence. They have to depend on a lot of other people. So we build these homes so that they can have more independence in their own home. They can get themselves around a lot better. We can help the caregivers by, we put in all kinds of things. If somebody's paralyzed or something, we'll put in a crane that will kind of on the ceiling that will lift them out of the bed and take them into the bathroom and all kinds of things. So there's a ton of videos on our YouTube channel at the Gary Sinise Foundation that shows these beautiful homes that we're building. Somebody gives up their arms and legs for our country, I think, we can pitch in and give something back to them.
Amen.
There is no doubt about that. Gary Sinise is on the line with us. The Opry celebrates 30 years of Forrest Gump. It's coming up Sunday night at 7:00 at the Grand Ole Opry House. So I'm curious, and when you were presented with the role of Lieutenant Dan, and what all went into your research and putting yourself into that part? Because obviously you can read a script and kind of know what they're expecting, but what were some different things that you did to really throw yourself into the role?
Yeah, well, as I said, I have Vietnam veterans in my family on my wife's side. So I started kind of working in support of Vietnam veterans back in the 80s of, good 10, 12 years before Forrest Gump came along. So I was kind of teed up for it, but I hadn't met a lot of, amputees, a lot of wounded service members. I'd met some Vietnam veterans who'd lost their legs, but I had to dig into that research to make sure that I could do that properly and honestly. And there was a book that I read. I remember it's called Fortunate Son. It was written by Lewis Puller. His father was Chesty Puller, who is, I think he's the most highly decorated Marine officer ever, and his son went off to war in Vietnam and got blown up, lost both his legs and an arm, and it was very difficult. He wrote a book, and I remember reading that book when I was getting ready to play Lieutenant Dan. That was very helpful. And we also went out and we did some training, and did a boot camp thing and went out in the woods and lived out there, kind of getting ready to do all the Army stuff. I remember we were out in the woods. We finished up on a Saturday, and then we started shooting all the platoon stuff on Monday. So we were ready to go. And there was a lot of good things that we did. I went on a shrimp boat and did some of that kind of stuff to get ready.
Nice. We were talking to Gary Sinise this morning on the Chase and Big Joe show. Gary, when you're reading that script and you watch the development of Lieutenant Dan from this gruff leader to being very humble and seeing that come through the screen, I got to think playing that role when you watch it now is amazing. In the part where he apologizes to Forrest and you jump in the water off the shrimp boat, I tell you, every time I almost start crying. I mean, and it's so iconic. And I just was curious, when you read the script and saw that character development, did that stand out to you?
Yeah. I mean, I very much wanted to play the part when I read it, because, as I said, back in the '80s, I got very involved with Vietnam veterans, and my wife's two brothers served in Vietnam. Her sister's husband was a combat medic in Vietnam. So when 10 years later, when the opportunity came along to play Lieutenant Dan, I very much wanted to do it. I wanted to honor the men and women who had served in Vietnam, and we remember what it was like for them to come home from war. Little did I know, though, that the movie would, you can't predict how a movie's going to turn out. We knew it was a great script. I knew it was a great part. It was a great story. I knew we were working with Tom Hanks, and Bob Zemeckis is a genius film director. So all the elements were there, but you never know how it's going to turn out. And then I remember seeing it the first time. They put us together in a little screening room at Paramount, and it was just some of the cast members and a few of the key people that worked on it. Very small screening. They showed it to us, and we all were happy. Okay, it worked out. It's really, really good. And then it opened about a week later, and of course was a big hit, and a lot of things changed for me. I hadn't done that many movies before then. So, being in the biggest movie of the year, that changed a lot of things for the career, but also, it led me to an association with the Disabled American Veterans Organization. They represent about 2 million wounded veterans, and they contacted me about 4 weeks after the movie opened, and I went to their national convention. They gave me an award for playing Lieutenant Dan, and I've been involved and supportive of them for 30 years now.
Gary Sinise is with us. And did the success of Forrest Gump and working with Tom Hanks, I mean, you ended up doing a couple more movies with him, Apollo 13 being one of them, which is another one. Did all that kind of lead to those other roles, or was that just kind of a coincidence?
Well, no, it was no coincidence that I ended up auditioning for Apollo 13. I mean, that was Tom's next film, and we had a great time working together on Forrest Gump. And I know Ron Howard. I didn't know Ron Howard, who directed the movie Apollo 13. I didn't know Ron before that. And Tom, I think, mentioned that they should take a look at me. So Ron talked to my agent, and they told me to come in and audition for any of the astronauts other than the one Tom was playing, Jim Lovell.
Right.
So I could pick anyone and come in and audition for him. So I picked Ken Mattingly, who was the one who was supposed to be on the mission, but they thought he was exposed to the measles, so they pulled him off the mission and grounded him. But he ends up playing a very significant, important role in getting them back once the disaster happens and the ship blows up. So it was a great part. I went in and auditioned for that one, and luckily I got it.
That's great. Gary, we're going to try to keep you until about 3 o'clock this afternoon with stories, if you don't mind. Do you mind telling the story about, and I heard you tell the story. I want you to, for our listeners, about the scene where Lieutenant Dan's, I guess, grandpa dies in World War I, and how you had to reshoot that scene later on. Is that true?
Oh, I'll tell you. We posted a thing on the internet recently. I think it's on Instagram or something, where I'm showing this wrap party gift that I had, and the story goes. There's those scenes where Forrest Gump says, Lieutenant Dan's, he had somebody from his family die in every single American war. And then you see, I'm playing all the characters, right? I'm dressed up in a Revolutionary War outfit, and then I'm in a Civil War outfit, and then I'm in a World War I, and then I'm in World War II, which is the last shot in the sequence. My character falls dead, right? Somebody died in every one of those wars. And it turns out that when they shot the World War II part, and I fell onto the set, kind of dead, the set moved. Like you saw the set kind of moving around. And they said, oh, well, we can't have that. The set's moving around. We can't have that. So they had to reshoot that. And I don't know if you'll recall, but there's a scene where Robin Wright, she's very, very desperate and distraught, and she's high on drugs, and she's very sad, and she gets up on a building, and she's about to jump off. And they were shooting that on Wilshire Boulevard in California, in Los Angeles, one night. It was the last night of shooting, and they were shooting that. They were going to wrap up. So they had to reshoot the scene. So they built this little beach set, like a Iwo Jima beach set or something, on the roof of the building on Wilshire Boulevard. And so they called me. They said, "You got to come down. We got to reshoot this shot. It's the only time we're going to get it." And so I went down there about midnight, 2 a.m, and fell into the beach on the roof of the building, of the apartment building on Wilshire. And that was the final shot of the entire film that they did. They reshot that one. And then they gave everybody this bottle of whiskey with Tom's picture on it, like a little animated Forrest Gump. And I still have that. I've never opened it in 30 years. I still have it just sitting on my shelf.
Oh, that is fantastic. We have to you now live in Middle Tennessee, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I'm in the volunteer state, and I'm doing a lot of volunteering.
Well, we love it. We claim you now. That is for sure.
Yes.
Gary, thanks.
I'm happy to be claimed.
We're excited to have you. And obviously, the Opry celebrates 30 years of Forrest Gump coming up Sunday night. I know it's going to be a fantastic show. You can go to Opry.com and get tickets and raising money for your foundation and everything you do. This has been so much fun. Thanks so much for doing this.
Oh, I'm happy to be with you guys anytime. Thank you.
We will do it again. That is for sure. He's Gary Sinise. The Opry celebrates 30 years of Forrest Gump. Of course, Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump. He was in Apollo 13, The Green Mile, CSI New York. I mean,
Ransom.
so many different things. Ransom,
Stole Mel Gibson's son.
Yeah, in Ransom. Just
back my son. He said, "Call him anytime." Can we call him again tomorrow?
Yeah, let's do it. We'll talk about more about Apollo 13 tomorrow.
Yeah, all right.
After covering Forrest Gump. A lot of fun. We're live today, Titans training camp. We'll get back into that. JC Latham going to join us before we get out of here as well, here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. The king of rock and roll bringing us back here on this Thursday. Chasing Big Joe live at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Titans practice. J.C. Latham going to join us whenever they're done. Either that'll be towards the end of our show or the beginning of Willie and D. Mace. They were out here earlier.
They were. We talked. Many thanks to Gary Sinise.
That was awesome.
I was going to see if he could apologize for Reindeer Games, the movie. No, I was kidding. With Ben Affleck a long time ago.
Yeah.
But we were talking about that role of Lieutenant Dan. What's one iconic role that is taken over? I mean, I'm sure there's, but I mean that you look at Gary Sinise, like, oh yeah, Lieutenant Dan. I mean, if other actors would love to have that, where you just throw one movie, oh, that's Lieutenant Dan. That's Lieutenant. I mean, an iconic role to take off like that. I'm sure there's others, but none come to mind right now.
I don't know.
It's I really don't.
I don't know. What's funny is I was looking at the cast for Apollo 13.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Did you realize how loaded that cast? I mean, Tom Hanks, Bill Paxton, Kevin Bacon, Gary Sinise, Ed Harris was in it. And then if you're, like me and watch like NCIS or 24, Joe Spano, who was on NCIS for a long time, he's in it. Xander Berkeley was in 24 and several other, of those
Who
action
was the lady that played Jim, Tom Hanks' wife movie, Jim, the astronaut, Jim
Lovell.
Jim Lovell.
Kathleen Quinlan.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Fantastic actress. So loaded.
Yeah, so I mean, it just.
So I read this about Apollo 13. So they're filming Apollo 13 at the same time Forrest Gump is exploding across the country because these movies are a year behind.
Yeah,
and it was kind of like everybody was so involved in the movie that when they would go out to eat or go out to a restaurant or take a break from the movie, people like, oh, so they really couldn't get caught up in the hoopla because they were busy filming Apollo 13. But just to have that, and he's, Gary Sinise said they've raised $400 million for veterans and their families and everything, and that Lieutenant Dan band is very popular, and he's playing all weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so now he's a Middle Tennessee restaurant. Chase, you had a good point. We do claim him. Most people we don't claim, but we will claim him.
100% we will claim him. It's just crazy to me too. Like you talk about Tom Hanks, like that, the run he had in the 90s with, all the movies that he did. Like you have Philadelphia. He did. I forgot Sleepless in Seattle. He did that too. He was in that. Big, Big was 88, so that was the 80s, and then Turner and Hooch was 89.
Great movie.
Kind of started things.
Did you not cry at the end of that movie? I cried.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It was awful.
But then you get into the 90s. A League of Their Own, Philadelphia, Forrest Gump, Apollo 13, Toy Story, Saving Private Ryan, You've Got Mail, Toy Story 2, The Green Mile, and then 2000 is Castaway. And then he, I forgot he even made a cameo in Band of Brothers. But,
that's right.
But he does Castaway in 2000. And then he obviously had several others after that. But, he got to the point where he got so big that it was like, I'll do, whenever I feel like read a script that I like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And he's in Nashville a lot.
He is. His wife's a singer. He's big in typewriters. There's a guy that has a typewriter salvage store in Goodlettsville. One day, Tom Hanks is wandering around in his store, and there he was. But Forrest Gump is, of course, our favorite movie. But, Big was such a fantastic movie.
And who was it? Was it De Niro?
Robert De Niro filmed almost half that movie, and then Penny Marshall's like, yeah, this ain't working. Get out of here. But Castaway's also good. Funny thing about Castaway is and I know way too much about Tom Hanks. So they filmed the first part of Castaway where he gets stranded on the island, and they dissolve out because he yanks his tooth out. Then the next scene is him with the long beard. So that production crew filmed up to that point. They took a year off, went and filmed a Harrison Ford movie, like where he was a professor and he has an affair and she dies in a river. I forget what it's called at the same time. Then a year later, they took the break so Tom Hanks could lose weight and grow the beard.
Yeah.
And so it all comes together.
Wow.
And that's how Castaway was not CGI, how it happened. They did CGI Castaway, though, because a lot of the scenes were filmed during the day. They put a different filter and focus on the camera. So it made it look like it was at night. Anyway, I know way too much about that. And I'm sorry if I put you to sleep.
We'll get back into Titans training camp as they seem to be wrapping up practice. They're way on the far field. You got your binoculars. I don't know what you can see out there, but we'll talk.
Vrabel.
We'll talk. What? What's he doing?
He's in a tree. He's looking down.
We'll talk to J.C. Latham. Is that Mike Malarkey? We'll talk to J.C. Latham after practice as well. Live today, Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. It's the Chase and Big Joe show presented by the Omni Nashville Hotel. This week's Nashville's best deal is to the Nashville Sounds Home Run Derby X at First Horizon Park, Saturday, August 31st. Buy 2 tickets now for only $30, and you can watch MLB legends, top female players, and local Middle Tennessee hitters compete in an exciting 3-on-3 co-ed competition. Buy your tickets now at theGameNashville.com/deals and be part of Home Run Derby X excitement. He's a Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, the game here on this Thursday, live at Titans training camp. Practice underway, wrapping up. Chasing Big Joe here. Looks like they have made some moves. According to A to Z Sports, they're reporting that the Titans have cut running back Dylan Johnson, who I thought was going to make the team. So that's good. Didn't even make it through a day of training camp.
It's all right, man. You try.
So that's good. So look, seeing some corresponding moves potentially out there as I've seen on the internets that Corey Levin, that they have brought him back as a backup center, and also former first-round pick and linebacker Shane Ray reported to be signing. They need some pass rush help.
I forgot all about Shane Ray. Practice is done, Chaser.
Yes, it is. So we'll be joined by J.C. Latham at some point here soon. But, yeah, reports are Shane Ray, and he's out there, I guess. So that move has been made because he's on the practice field. TD tweeting that out. So Shane Ray joining the Tennessee Titans. What do you think about that move?
I like it. I mean, he's got experience. We'll see what he can do. Again, I'm going to, not hold my breath, see what they can do and how much they can contribute. But that guy's got some talent. So that's not bad.
Yeah, no, not a bad move at all. So, again, Corey Levin now on his third stint, I guess, with the Tennessee Titans, and Shane Ray joined the Titans. They were here in time for practice. Like I said, it's hard for us to see. So, looking out there, and I guess I could have looked at the roster. But would I have been looking for that? No. The answer to that is no, I would not.
You would not have.
And they're not on here, so it's okay. I don't feel stupid after all. No. So there you go. Couple of changes there. Corey Levin and Shane Ray joining as Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan attempt to tweak the roster as they go through training camp. So practice is done. J.C. Latham going to come over and join us. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yes,
having him on.
me
We
too.
haven't talked to him yet.
We have not. And see how things are going. Obviously, God, the draft was 3 months ago. So he's been in the National Football League now. Remember the Titans for 3 months. It just went by fast. But, yeah, I mean, again, I want him to be all pro. I want him to be great if he's the best left tackle in football. I mean, wouldn't it be great?
Oh, it'd be fantastic. I mean, they had years of Michael Roos. Well, yeah, Brad Hopkins before that, Michael Roos, then Taylor Lewan. I mean, they've just had this, continuing trend of, stud left tackles. And, now you add J.C. Latham to the mix. Hopefully he can keep it going.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic. And that would, getting there for another 10, 12 years, that solves a problem for so long, which, God, if Isaiah Wilson had worked out, he wouldn't be here. J.C. Latham would not be sitting here right now.
Well, I mean, and he would have, if Isaiah Wilson had worked out, hopefully he would have been on the right side, and you never know. But, man, that would have been something. But you can't look back on the past. You got to look on the future.
That's right.
And we'll see what J.C. Latham can do, and look forward to talking to him here in just a few minutes. They got done a little bit quicker. Well, they started earlier today, I guess. So finished at a different time today. So he'll walk over here. What's some advice you have for him as he goes into his rookie year?
For Latham?
Yeah.
I guess what do they always say? Bury yourself in the playbook.
Bury
that's
yourself
what I
in
hope. The playbook. Try to get better each and every day. That's camp is not what camp was for a lot of us anymore, obviously. But I would just try to learn. I would soak up. I would ask Bill Callahan so many questions every day that the point Bill Callahan's like, "Well, just get away from me for right now. Too many questions." But I would just learn, and he seems like a guy that wants to learn and produce. So I think it's a good pick, and then just keep your head down, get the job done.
Know
you're one of 11.
The unfortunate part for him is, even though he's a rookie, and rookies are going to make mistakes, and rookies have to have time to grow, he doesn't really have that luxury because they need this offensive line to be good, and they need this offensive line to be good now. And so, Latham's got to have he's got to be a quick study, and they got to know off the bat, like they got to know in the next 3 weeks if he's truly going to be a left tackle.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If he's going, or if they're going to have to rethink it and shift him over to right, which if that happens, you don't want that. Like,
no.
I mean that that could be devastating to this team.
I totally agree. And I want to see him play, with the joint practice with the Seahawks. I want to see him play in the preseason game versus the 49ers, the Seahawks. And who's the last one? The Vikings? Is that who they're playing the last preseason game? Is that right?
I think
it's a preseason game. It doesn't really matter, but I want to see him out there on at least the first half.
I know they're all NFC teams
of getting those reps and going
Saints
for things.
at the Saints.
Saints.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to see all that goes on. So
you want to? I think we should go cover that
Saints game.
Yeah, go down to the dome for
absolutely. Oh, 100%.
We'll come back. Come back.
But
on
would
Monday.
we come back? That's the point.
Well, yeah. Dr. Crane see us walk in the studio, just bloodshot eyes. And just,
it might be the Dr. Crane show.
Yeah.
From that moment.
What's
on.
wrong with you guys? We haven't slept in 2 days.
I thought it might have been those edible meatballs or whatever we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, no, it might have. It was that, and who knows what else. We found
Wasp.
down there. Look at Wasp. Yeah, they're flying around. I've told you. I've said this before that the worst I have ever felt a hangover was in New Orleans. It's the worst hangover I've ever had in my life.
Don't you dare blame New Orleans for your malaise. That city did nothing to you. It's the best city in the country.
That city did everything to me when I realized that I could just walk down Bourbon Street with 2 drinks.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And they saw all the bartenders looked out and saw me and go, "Oh, we got a live one here. This is easy pickings, right?" Here.
I still think every event should be held in New Orleans. I do. I mean, I know they like Vegas and like Miami and New Orleans is a special place. If you've never been, you need to go. For those who've been, you know exactly what we're talking about.
There's people that went and go, I will never go again. I'm done.
Yes.
But so that's where it'll be. So JC Latham going to join us. We'll also check in, and I know Willie D-Mace will check in and hear from different people from today's practice and kind of what transpired. But again, the news that has kind of come out, they have parted with running back Dylan Johnson because they feel good about the depth. So hey, that's great opportunity for Jabari Small. If they're going to carry 3 or 4 running backs, which they'll carry 3. Maybe he's got a chance to be showcased and make the team. But they re-signed Corey Levin as a backup center, an outside linebacker, former first-round pick Shane Ray, and they are here. They practiced today, so we're sure Brian Callahan and others will talk about those new additions that they have brought in. It's that time of year, you keep adding and tweaking the roster. That's what Rand Carthon is trying to do. We'll come back. JC Latham going to join us in just a few minutes. We're live today at Titans training camp here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We're live today at Titans training camp here at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. We'll be at the Omni Nashville Hotel tomorrow, so looking forward to that. Dr. Crane is back at the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. The buzz. J.C. Latham going to join us in just a few minutes, the offensive line kind of wrapping up some stuff, and then he'll be over here. So looking forward to a conversation with him.
Yeah, he'll I'm looking at, he's got a nickname that Deion Sanders gave him called the Trench King.
Oh wow, I didn't know
That's what you know, and Wikipedia is never incorrect.
Oh no.
So let's see what that is. But no, it'll be good. I mean, it's JC Latham, #1 pick. See how he's doing.
Yes.
Vital to this team going forward.
Looks like he is walking this way.
God, he's as big as the bubble. Good
I know. It's so funny. Like I don't do it as much now since Derrick Henry, but like I remember the first time I saw Derrick Henry, I was standing next to Floyd, and Floyd just starts laughing, and I'm like, "That's a big boy. Like that's a big man." Like, you know, and Floyd's just like, "Yep,
right.
He sure is."
It's like tight end.
Yeah, for sure. So JC walking over. And we'll join the program momentarily. We'll get him all set up here. Joe, you talk for a second.
I'll do that.
JC, how you doing?
First round draft choice for the Titans back in
Joe.
April. It's good to have him here. Of course, be the left tackle for the Titans, and hope he's here for a long time to get things done and get him moving forward. We were going to talk mostly about Alabama football, if that's okay. Is that all right?
Yeah. He's all about Alabama football.
Yeah.
JC Latham joins us on the program now. JC, how you feeling?
I feel great, man. Day 2, made a lot of corrections from day 1, and as a player, you just want to get 1% better every day. So I feel like I went out there and did that today. So, still things to correct, but you can improve on a lot of stuff. So.
Did you have, yesterday? I know you've gone through mini camps and all that stuff, but going into your first NFL training camp as a rookie here with the Tennessee Titans, were there butterflies? Were you like, was it mixed emotions? How was it?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I've never gotten nervous for anything. This is the first time I've ever been nervous.
Wow.
Just waking up yesterday knowing that like today was the day.
Yeah.
I was kind of it was a little bit of butterflies in my stomach because this is something that you dreamed about since you were in middle school, honestly, elementary school. So now that you're here, OTAs was one thing, but now knowing that you walk in there and you see we got San Francisco, that's the first preseason game, and the timer on it, like it's real. So. It was a little bit of butterflies, but once the bullets started flying, everything went away. And you just went out there and played.
So coming in here, you're taken out of Alabama, and I know you played a lot of the right side, but you played the left side. They want you on the left side here. What's that adjustment been like? Even though you're just now kind of getting into the nitty gritty of it, but what has that adjustment been like so far?
Yeah, true story. When I got to Alabama, I was a left tackle, and I never played right, and Evan Neal was there, so I thought how it went was you kind of put the best player at left tackle, So I'm not going to say, oh, I'm better than Evan Neal, I know he's been here for 2 years, started as a true freshman, so I'm assuming Saban's going to put him at left, and then so I'm like telling myself, all right, let me start working out at right tackle. So I literally started training right tackle like the day I got to Alabama, so didn't have no background experience in it, so it was a different type of transition, but once I got my foot wet and things started flying, I was good. And it's the same thing coming here, played left going into college, so it's just kind of just riding the bike again.
Your Alabama legendary football coach Bear Bryant said football comes down to 2 things: blocking and tackling. You talk about all the extracurricular things going on off the field. At what point though will you be comfortable just to let your body, what you do, block and block and block? Is that going to have to take over when you get on the football field, all the mental instead of all the mental stuff, or does it got to work together?
Yeah. I think it's a lot of different things, but it does come down, especially on the offensive side. You don't get nowhere if you can't block. You look at all the great teams and the teams that were short. You can point out 2 teams: the Alabama team, that 2021 year, and the Joe Burrow team when he went to the Super Bowl. Both teams were at different levels, amazing. Breaking records, MVPs, whatever it was, but they didn't have the best O-line, and when it came down to it, that's what made the difference in, reaching the top of the mountain. So, blocking is probably as far as an offensive player, the most important part of any facet of any play.
Your offensive line coach, Eric Walford at Alabama, loves you and says you're going to be the best left tackle in the league. When you got a guy who knows you deeply that way and says the future is so bright, how does that make you feel?
I mean, it means the world to me. You know, when he first got there, you know, it was my sophomore year, and the first thing he came in, he was like, "You guys," he told us straight up. He said, "You guys can put all the blame on me. You know, all the shortcomings, all the errors that you guys had last year. We're going to correct them all." And, you know, I felt like he walked into a unique situation with the transfer portal going on, guys leaving, coming in and out. You know, he only had one real offseason to develop the guys that he recruited. But, yeah, I mean, he just took a different level of accountability, and he held me. You know, he'll yell at me just as he'll yell at, you know, the fourth-string guy who's on scout team. You know,
right.
He didn't care who it was. So when you got that type of praise from a coach of that caliber, it just means the world to you.
J.C. Latham is with us, Titans left tackle, and you know you got Peter in his second year. You're in your first year. How big is having Lloyd there as a free agent signing, a veteran in this league playing center? How beneficial is that going to be?
Yeah, I mean, it's beneficial for the experience. You know, he played with the Denver Broncos. So coming over here, you know, we're just talking about, you know, how the NFL is being from a guy who's a real vet. And I'm not saying Peter or anybody else isn't a real vet, but guys who played multiple years.
Yeah.
You know, you get to talking like, hey, what do you see out there? Like, how is it? I mean, he went to LSU, so that's a SEC team. And
you don't hold that against him, I know.
Yeah, yeah. I think they won. I think that was back when they were like winning really good, like blowing teams out. And so, you know, he's seen a lot of great talent. So, you know, being in the NFL, I'm asking like, how does it compare and all that stuff. So we have a lot of talking conversations. And, you know, having that guy just right next to me and Pete just means the world. So.
Have you gone one-on-one drills yet against the defensive end, like Harold Landry and those guys yet? Have you done that so far?
I haven't went against Harold Landry. I went against AK. So I've seen just the speed of the game. So first day out there, I was kind of a little caught off guard. I remember we ran the first play, was wide zone to the right. And I'm thinking, because we're just in helmets, you know, and I see guys it's a different type of speed and intensity being in the NFL compared to college. So, yeah, I mean, just having that type of speed out there just really helps me get adjusted to it.
So Coach Bill Callahan comes in here and, you know, a unique situation getting to coach with his son as the head coach, but he's well known over the league of being a great offensive line coach. I know it's been a short amount of time, but how much have you learned to this point just working with a guy like him?
I mean, I learned a lot. Like the day I got drafted, I think I called them and asked for the playbook, you know, so I can get right into it. And that was like the start of something I didn't even know how deep it was finna get.
Yeah.
Like I see, like you got one play and you see it on 8 different looks and 8 different calls and all that stuff. So we're talking, and then it's each call has its own set of techniques within it, you know, and then you got the cadence. So we were just talking about the basics, trying to build a foundation with that. And then once we started elevating a little bit above that, you know, talking about, you know, looking at film with Trent Williams, you know, he coached him a little bit, looking at film with him, you know, the greats, you know, Lane Johnson, Taylor Lewan when he was here,
yeah,
you know, guys like that, Laramie Thompson. So we watched film on that just to see like, hey, this is similar technique to what we're doing here on this play. You know, this is what it should look like, and it's being done by a great guy. And he's going down to the intricate of the foot and the ankle angle that you're taking off the ball, you know, uncoiling and all that type of stuff. So it's been amazing. I love learning from someone like that.
How much do you practice when you're walking around, say, your house and your drop step? I mean, just kind of like, I'm sure at some points of the day you're just kind of like practicing that. Do you do it all the time?
Yeah, I try to get a feel for it. You know, I mean, I like to play video games to take my mind off of things.
Yeah.
You know, sitting down in the chair is similar to kind of being in your stance. You know, you're already low, so I kind of get my foot into the posture that, you know, I want it to be. You know, just every once in a while, just to make sure, like, hey, okay, this is the weight distribution, things like that. But I try to do all my work here before I go.
Okay, so college football 25, you're playing that?
Yeah.
You doing a dynasty with Alabama? How's that?
So that's the thing, because I wanted to stay in the SEC. I didn't want to pick Alabama. They're too OP. I wanted to build up. So I started with Vanderbilt, actually.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So we're back-to-back national champions. We're looking to go repeat.
You know, you obviously just missed it, but how cool is it? Like, if you look at the Alabama roster, you see guys you played with last year. Like you know, in finally we got the real players on the game. That's got to be cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm so
I
excited.
mean, you're
for
on
those
Madden,
guys.
so that'll work out.
Yeah. I'm excited for those guys. You know, I know that's a lifelong dream for them. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit salty when I was in my freshman year. They announced there were like rumors college football's coming back, and then for 2 years they never made an announcement. And then my junior year, they're like, it's coming back. It'll be out this summer. I'm like, of course I'll be. So I was a little bit salty, but it is what it is. I'll be interested to know what my rating would have been, seeing other guys' ratings in there. So
Have there been any tournaments or anything in the locker room yet? I mean, I feel like that's got to be coming.
It's definitely coming. But we really just play against each other online, no matter what it is. We try not to pick a crazy team or whatever, like Alabama or Georgia. We just try to pick 2 random teams and just go out there and scheme versus scheme, really.
So you led Vanderbilt to back-to-back national. Look at you.
That's awesome.
Nate Johnson, I took him all the way, man.
Just tell Coach Callahan you're going to be a coach now, man. Here's a question for you. Today is Bryce Young's birthday.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, you're absolutely
All right, here's
right.
a question. If you know him so well, how old is Bryce Young?
He's 23.
My man.
Yeah, 23.
23. Well done.
Yeah, he's 23. I got to reach out to him. Yeah.
Well done with that.
So speaking of Alabama, Coach Saban announces his retirement and just like rocks the college football world.
Yeah.
But you will forever be able to say, I was on his last team.
Yeah.
How special is that to kind of have that bond?
It hit me in 2 different ways. I was working out, getting ready for the combine, and I get an alert that said, like, from Twitter, and I never get Twitter alerts, so I don't know how I got through. But it said Nick Saban's retiring. So I'm like, all right, I'm not believing this. You know what I'm saying? We almost made it to the playoffs with a team that nobody thought we could even. I mean, we almost made it to Natty, to a team that nobody thought we'd make it to the playoffs. You know, so I think
I was devastated for you.
Yeah,
in that
so
game.
I'm thinking that another good recruiting class, and guys buy in, to the program. I think they can go all the way and win it. And then my agent hit me up and he told me, and everybody's texting my phone. So I'm like, I'm in shock. Seeing that a guy of that caliber, finally hanging his hat. But I mean, he deserves it. Well, I think it was 7 national championships at Alabama, 6 or 7. And then, he's a great coach. He develops young men. So that's really what he's great at, on and off the field. But yeah, I wish I would have just, if I kind of felt that was coming, I wish we could have just sent him out with a natty one more time.
Is it true he, like, when you come into his office, he's got the ring sitting on the desk?
Oh yeah.
Coffee table?
When I
such a flex.
So that was another time, like, I wasn't nervous, but I was starstruck. I had a meeting with him. I wanted to ask him as a freshman. I was like, hey, what's some things I can do, to be better and help the team? And I went into the meeting. So you had to talk to his assistant first, which is crazy. I never had that. So I go to the assistant, and I'm thinking I'm finna walk in. She's like, yeah, you got to come back tomorrow at 2:30. That's when he's available. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I come back. I'm thinking it's going to be casual. As soon as you walk in, all the awards, the rings, and it's like one big diamond room. Like, so it just caught me off guard. So I'm like, all right, don't say nothing crazy.
That's awesome. One piece of advice you would give to the 17-year-old JC Latham right now?
Yeah, I mean, just stay working. Just keep working hard. I mean, at that point, I was at IMG, getting ready for Alabama. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of tough days, But one thing that I kind of forgot a little bit was that we're all doing it, And sometimes you'll feel like you're by yourself working hard, but it's other people out there who's trying to work just as hard, So the sooner you realize that, and the sooner you understand that there's guys out there who's willing to go further than you, then that's when you really got to put the pedal to the metal and just crank it up a notch, crank it up by 10. So
beautiful.
Well, JC, we're excited for you. I know this is just the beginning, and as we were saying, bringing you in, I think you're going to be here for a long time. But really looking forward to watching you grow and to play. And thanks so much for doing this. It's good to meet you.
Call Bryce Young.
Call Bryce Young.
Appreciate you, brother.
JC Latham joining us here on the program. Good way to end it. That'll do it for us. We will turn things over to Willie and another former disciple of Nick Saban, Derek Mason. That is coming up next. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.